I'm Mike,
And I'm Amber. Welcome to the Covenant Chronicles,
where we tell you the truth about relationships.
giving you the tools to build the foundation you always needed. Welcome back to the Covenant Chronicles.
Hello.
Trying to be obnoxious over there.
Of course I am. I feel like we haven't recorded in forever, although I don't think it's been that bad. I just,
Well, we put out a podcast last week. It's just that we recorded them the week before that. So it's been like almost 2 weeks since we've
crazy.
actually recorded.
It has been a hot minute then.
Yes.
Well, this would be a good time to talk about the fact that we are going to be going down to one podcast a week.
Yes. So probably just Mondays.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
We will put one out for everyone.
But there's additional stuff that goes along with that. If you haven't checked out the school community yet, Covenant Couples, I highly encourage you to, because not only will we be posting links to the podcast, we'll actually have discussion topics to help stir that up. There will also be other weekly discussions and stuff that are posted in there. And there's a ton of free resources to help your relationship. So,
yeah, it's a good place to go. Well, today's episode, we are talking about a video that I literally just saw today.
Yeah.
And sent to you.
Yeah. It was about the 3 S's in Sierra, for those that know the phonetic alphabet. The 3 S's in a relationship. And this is just so we're clear. This is not us coming up with these 3 S's. This was actually taken from someone else. I just wanted to talk about it. Actually, Amber wanted to talk about it. Thought it'd be a good topic to cover. And I would agree with this because I like the video, and I like the message that they had. In my opinion, there was a missing piece.
Okay.
So let's talk about what these 3 S's that were brought up are.
It's supposed to be like the 3 S, like the 3 things that help create a good relationship.
Yeah, it was. They worded it as what you're supposed to look for in a relationship. And there was a man and a woman, and she was specifically saying how she had been in past relationships where some of these were missing. Now that she experienced all 3, these were, like, in her opinion, the 3 things that were key to having a great relationship.
Right.
And so the first one is silly. And they described it as being able to be silly, fun with your partner, joking, laughing, having fun. Those 2 a.m. laughing, joking conversations. The second is serious. So someone you can have serious conversations, because life is going to get tough and you need to be able to have these deep conversations with that person and work through things. And the last one is they described as sensual, which was not just the initial physical attraction, but somebody that you can have a sensual attraction to for a long period of time or over the course of the relationship.
Yeah.
And these are really good. I like the way that they portrayed this. I like the way they talked about this, and I like what they were saying, and I don't disagree, because I think that at the core of great relationships, you need these things, right? Like, you gotta have these things, otherwise you're going to be missing part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would honestly say that in many cases, if you don't have these, if you're missing at least one, and for sure 2 of these 3 things in your relationship, then you're heading down a path essentially of failure.
Yeah.
Being able to joke and laugh and have fun with your partner and just be silly, right? It's interesting because you see that in a lot of biblical contexts as well, right? Is be like little children, right?
Mhm.
And we're commanded to do that in the Bible. And it's interesting because I think that's a key component to great relationships as well, right? Is having that ability to laugh and joke and have fun and, tickle each other or mess with each other or, pinch each other's butts or, act goofy and silly, whatever it is, right? Sing a song in a car and act ridiculous.
Yeah.
This shows up in many different ways, right?
I'd say we spend a lot of time just doing that throughout the day, but also there are times that, like, we just go to bed at night and then end up just, like, joking and being silly together while we're just laying in bed, and I think that that was the point she was trying to make was, like, having someone that you could do that with, where you just go to bed at night and instead of going to sleep, you're just, like, having fun with each other and
Yeah.
being silly.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think that that is, one of the key foundations inside of a relationship that you have to have, right? Um, and it when you get with somebody, right? Like when you're first dating, that's part of the attraction to them. That's part of what draws you to that person, right? Is the fun factor. And then so when you see a lot of relationships where that starts to drift, you start to lose that um they you really end up in a place where that is eh, you're on a track doomed for failure because you end up in this place where it's like why am I doing this, right? What am I here for, because it's not fun anymore, right?
Well, I think people just forget to continue having fun a lot of times, you know? Like, we do go through hard times and seasons of there being hard things that are happening, right? And if you don't remember to continue being silly and just having fun together, then you lose that. Like, I think that's probably the easiest one to lose. Well, maybe
Yeah.
not the easiest, but I think for sure, like, top 2 of the easiest to lose because you just forget.
Well, I wanted to bring something up about these three because I think they're connected,
Mhm.
right? Because I would agree with you. I don't know if eases is the right term, but I know where you're going with that. I think it's the first one to lose,
Yeah.
right? And when you lose that, the next domino that falls is the central side,
Yeah,
right?
those were the 2 that I was thinking.
Yeah, but then I would say you lose the silly first. Then you lose that, and then the last is you lose your ability to communicate, you lose your ability to actually have serious conversations.
Well, the thing about the serious conversations is that I don't even know that m a lot of people have the ability to have serious conversations. And it's not just like it's like a deep actual talk, like a serious conversation where you're talking about your feelings and the things that are going on and, like, trying to dig in to things together and working as a team and trying to figure things out together. And I think that that's something that people struggle with. You start talking about, the hard things, the
Mhm.
serious things, and then it turns into some sort of argument or something instead of just being able to have a serious, like, deep conversation like, "Hey, I'm struggling with this," or "I feel like we're struggling with this," or, whatever the case might be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I do believe they are linked in the sense that if you cut off one, you end up kinda creating a domino, right, where the others will fall. But, one thing that and I don't this is not a dig on the video, I want that to be clear, right? Because when you are creating content, you are creating when you create a video, you're creating a video for a specific person at a specific place in a specific time, right? And what I mean by that is this video was, in my opinion, created for somebody that is looking for a relationship, right? Or maybe in the baby stages of a relationship. They're trying to figure out if things should move forward, right?
Yeah.
I think you can also take away somebody that has been in a relationship for a long period of time can take away, hey, this is something I need to look at. Am I doing this inside of my relationship? Is this something that is, occurring? Um, but I wanted to talk about because, they you already kind of started going down that track of, well, what does it look like to maintain this?
Mhm.
Right? Because that's the key, right? You can find somebody with this. Now, what the point that they were making is, hey, if you don't have this in the relationship, in my opinion, or what I took away from that video was, if you don't have this in a relationship, then you should really examine whether you're compatible, right? If you don't have these three things.
Mm.
But here's the thing, even if you do, even if you start that way, then the challenge becomes, how do you maintain it, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that this is something that everybody overlooks. And we talk about this, and we have talked about this before. Your relationship takes work,
Yeah.
right? You go to a job for 8 hours a day. You are constantly doing your work, right? You're practicing. When you're at work doing whatever your tasks are, you're practicing those tasks. You always have some sort of training, right? Even if you own your own business, you're constantly learning, you're constantly growing, constantly learning new things. You're continuing to work on it consistently, right?
Yeah.
If you're playing a sport and you want to get good at the sport, you play the sport, you practice, you play the sport, you practice over and over and over and over and over, right?
Yeah.
And think about like an athlete that is, stops playing whatever sport. Are they still good at it? Yeah. But are they at the level that they were? No. Over time, it fades and they get rustier and rustier, right? And this is something that it kills me because we always back burner things, right? We
Yeah.
always put, when you look at the structure of the way the house should be, right? It's always supposed to be God first, self second, spouse third, then the kids, then your job and whatever else in life, right? But we always tend to flip that. And then we tell ourselves that we're doing it because of the rest of the things,
Mhm.
right? Which you need, right? You do. We live in a world where, money runs everything. And at the end of the day, you need an income source, right?
Yeah.
But we tend to flip that. And I think people forget that if you want to have a good relationship, it is consistent work.
Mhm.
You get up every day and you choose to work on it, right?
Yeah.
And just like practicing for a sport, or just like, if you call in sick a day at work, or if you, take a day off from your business, there's a little delay in progress, but you can pick back up, right? It's the same thing with your relationship. If you're not working on it for a day, you can pick back up, right?
Mhm.
Same thing with your job, same thing with your business, same thing with the sport, right? Maybe it's a couple days, maybe it's a week, maybe it drags out a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
But if you take a month or 2 months or 3 months or any of that stuff off, any of lengthy amount of time off, um, it dramatically affects your abilities, right?
Yeah.
And then you continue to dig this deeper and deeper hole that you have to get out of. And your relationship is very much the same way. right?
Mm.
It's no different, and it's baffling to me that people see this as, well, this is the exception, right? And I think it has a lot to do with movies and TV and these fairy tale storybooks we grew up with, right? Just making people think that, well, relationships are fairy tales and they just work and they're perfect and da 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 da, right?
They're
And
easy.
and they're, yeah, they're easy. If you're with the right person, then they're, it's just perfect every day and they're easy and you don't ever have to maintain them and they just go, right? And then when that's not the case and you have to put in work, people just are all too ready to throw it away because, well, according to this fairy tale, that's not how this works. But the reality is that's not real,
Yeah.
right? And so with these three S's, you need those components in your relationship, and that's 100% the things you should look for. But then the question becomes, how do you maintain them? How do you keep it going? How
Mhm.
do you keep laughing with your partner, right? Years down the road. How do you keep being silly and fun? How do you keep, you know, being able to have serious conversations with them?
Mhm.
How do you keep that sensual uh, relationship and attraction with them? Well, one, they're all connected, so you need to be able to have them. But two, it's putting in the work to continue to build up that relationship and continue to work on that relationship over and over and over again.
Yeah. I do think they're all connected because, well, there's a level of, like, safety and intimacy that goes into all 3 of them, right?
Hmm.
Because, like, the sensual side is about, attraction and, like, keeping that spark and the intimacy and all of those things. But, like, if you're not feeling safe in your relationship to have serious conversations or to laugh and be silly, like, you're probably not keeping up the sensual side of it, right?
Hmm.
And if you don't feel safe to have those hard conversations because you feel like you're just being ignored or not heard or whatever the case might be, you're not going to feel like being silly and you're not going to feel like being intimate.
Hmm.
So, literally, like each one goes hand in hand, but you have to work on all of them. And really, like we talk about it a lot, like safety is super important in all of that. Like, you being able to trust that you can come to me with some hard things, and your feelings and what's going on, and me being okay with it, and me doing the same to you creates an environment in which then we do want to be silly.
Right.
Then we do want to be intimate and have fun together and all of those things. So they literally like tie into each other. And I do think like at the end of the day, that's the whole key is having all 3, but all 3 of those mean having safety inside of your relationship.
Yeah.
So really it's 4 S's, right? Safety is the 4th S.
Yeah, it's,
Safety and security.
I think that we need to go through and we'll have to talk about our list on another podcast of how, but I mean, it is, right? Like you can keep adding acronyms and S's and the reality is that, there's probably there when it comes down to it, it's like 5 or 6 actual things inside of a relationship that are the key components, right? And they do interconnect, but it's not just about, do I have this with this person, right? And some of the factors that people have to understand is like people have past, right? People have things they've been through. They have past relationships, past experiences, all of this stuff. And so what ends up happening is i- that may hinder their ability to show up in some of these areas,
Mhm.
right? And so, yes, it is important to look and make sure that, you know, whoever you're getting into a relationship with has these things. But it's also important to analyze the potential for these things,
Mhm.
right? Because when you're dating, you're gonna have the sensual and the silly, right?
Yeah. Usually, yeah.
Usually, because that's why, I mean, that's typically why you're dating them, right?
Mhm.
The other stuff comes later.
Mhm.
But you also have to understand, because we talked about this before, about how, your nervous system, the part of your nervous system that's responsible for your emotions, is the same that's responsible for your memories,
Mhm.
right? And how your memories, you choose to view your memories, are um part of, like, what creates your actions, your outcomes, your results, all those sort of things, right? And the way we choose to view them and the reactions we choose to have to them is what creates our identity, right?
Yeah.
Um, my mentor was actually just reminded of this the other day, and I think this would be a fantastic time to talk about this. He tells a story where one of his clients, it's the called the Five Terrorists, right? And it goes like this. So he has this lady, and she'd come to him, and she had basically refused to get on a bus, and she had a lot of fear around social settings and this and that. Uh, and so he goes, okay. So they dig into it, and he goes, okay, tell me the story. So she goes down it. She'd gone over, she was in another country basically, and she had taken this bus tour, and four terrorists get on the bus, and it was really, scary. They thought, they could die, all this stuff. And local, law enforcement, whatever, gets it under control. They handle it, and five terrorists get off the bus, or, basically everybody gets off the bus.
Mhm.
And so he goes, let me back up. Everything ends, everybody gets off the bus. So he goes, oh, okay, got it. So you go overseas, you get on a bus, and they basically hijack the bus, and these, you know, four terrorists get on the bus, all this stuff happens, and then it gets under control, and five terrorists get off the bus. She goes, no, 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 that's not what happened. He goes, oh, okay, tell it again. So she goes, I was overseas, this, that, and the other. We take this bus tour, and, you know, we're going around, and four terrorists get on the bus. They hold us hostage. We thought we might die. It was really scary. And finally, it gets under control. Authorities take over, and we all get off the bus. He goes, oh, okay, I got it. So you were overseas, and you were on this bus tour, and four terrorists get on the bus, and all these things happen. It's hijacked. You think you might die. It's really scary. Authorities take over. They get it under control, and five terrorists get off the bus. And she goes, no, you're not getting it. So they keep going, and they keep doing this, right?
Yeah.
And finally she gets frustrated, and she goes, no, you're not getting it. Four terrorists got on the bus. Four terrorists got off the bus. And he goes, no, you're not getting it. Four terrorists might have got on the bus, but five got off. You're the fifth terrorist because you've terrorized yourself for the past 20 plus years with that story.
Mhm.
Right. And so it's a good reminder of how things affect us, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we carry these things into relationships, and it can affect these S's, if you will, the safety and the serious and all this stuff, and even potentially maybe the sensual or the silly part, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes you have to bring that part out of people again, and sometimes that's part of the journey, right?
Mhm.
And so I want people to understand that it's not only about, hey, this is what you have to look for,
Mhm.
But you have to look for the potential for people to have these things, as well as you have to maintain them,
Yeah.
right? And we've talked about this before, and like when we're not doing that and we're super serious and life kind of gets in the way, like you're really good at being like, "Hey, I'm feeling really disconnected. Let's make time." Right? And like you said, more often than not, it leads to whatever it leads to, right? Where sometimes we hang out, we're a little more intentional with our time, and then we stay up, being silly or being goofy or whatever the case may be, right?
Mhm.
And like talking about stuff or whatever happens, right? But we continue to maintain that, continue to water that grass, continue to fertilize that grass, right? Over and over and over again to where the maintenance is what keeps it going in the relationship. Because anything you stop maintaining, anything you stop giving attention and effort to in life dies,
Yeah.
right? And let me put that in a way that you that people can understand this, right? It's a universal rule. So if something, a thought or a memory or a past experience is holding you back, it's because you're giving it attention and effort, right?
Yeah.
When you stop doing that, it dies.
Mm.
But the flip side is the things that you want, the fun, the silly, the sensual, the being able to talk to your partner and being serious with them and all this stuff, when you stop giving it attention, it dies,
Yeah.
right? And so the key is yes, these are vital parts of the relationship, but you have to take it a step further. And one, it's about looking for a partner that has the potential for these and is taking action with you to bring them out, right? Because if you've been with this person for an extended period of time and they're making no effort, that's a whole different conversation, right?
Yeah.
But the person that has the potential and is actively trying to bring these parts out with you and within them, and two, continuing to water those things and allow them to grow and allow them to continue to flourish and not just die.
Yeah. And it is about what you're telling yourself too in those scenarios. I actually think I want to talk about that next time. I didn't think about it until we were in this podcast, but this the I am statements. I think we're
Okay.
going to talk about that next time.
Okay, let's talk about it. That's a good place to leave off here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, there you go for now. Next time, though, we're going to talk about I am statements and your identity.
perfect. So until then, actions. Actions for this week. Actions for this week are pretty simple. I already talked about it at the beginning. If you've not looked at the School Community, SKOOL, it is an online community platform. Think about Facebook groups without all the BS. Um, it is a fantastic platform. Anything that you're into, whether it's automotive, fishing, hunting, quilting, whatever it is, there's probably a school community for that. But we have created a community for couples. It is called Covenant Couples on School. Go check it out. It is free to join. And if you are ready to take a next step and be a little more serious about your relationship, another free thing you can do is go to thecovenantchronicles.com, set up a call with Amber and I. It's a free 30-minute call. It doesn't cost you anything. And we can at least help you identify where you're at in your relationship, give you some pointers and give you a roadmap, and talk about what next steps for you and your partner or for you could look like from there.
Mhm.
Anyways,
Yeah.
that's all we got for you guys.
I've been linking those at the bottom of descriptions too in the podcast. So
Oh,
makes it even easier. You
perfect. So the
just,
link is in the description. So you have no excuse not to go do it. That's crazy.
also, you should share this. Just,
Yes. Go
share it with
share it with
someone.
people. People need to hear this. Relationships are in worse places than they've ever been. Divorces are at all time highs. People need this. So
Yeah.
help people out. Share this. Until next time, we will talk. listen, talk,
Talk. I don't know.
see, hear you guys on the next podcast.
Have a fantastic week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.